Sony showcased an array of titles heading to PlayStation 5 in 2024 and beyond during the last State of Play, which ended with an in-depth look at the sequel to Death Stranding. I'll go game by game and updates. The highly anticipated PS5 exclusive Stellar Blade by developer Shift Up finally has a confirmed release date of April 26, 2024. Originally slated to launch sometime in 2023, Stellar Blade was unofficially delayed when the year came to a close. As soon as it was revealed, Stellar Blade caught the attention of gamers with its sci-fi setting and combat style. The occasional screenshots and trailers for Stellar Blade have only served to get fans even more excited about the upcoming game, and after what feels like a long wait, the PS5 exclusive will be hitting shelves in just a few short months. The game by Shift Up began as Project Eve, announced in 2019, but received new gameplay footage and a name change to Stellar Blade during September 2022's PlayStation State of Play showcase. Coming full circle, during the January 2024 State of Play, a new gameplay trailer was shared along with an official release date of April 26, 2024. Pre-orders for the game will open on February 7th. They showed several gameplay mechanics and environments as well, and the soundtrack is also amazing. Those who pre-order Stellar Blade will receive Eve's Planet diving suit, classic round glasses, and ear armor earrings as bonuses. A PlayStation blog post also detailed the Stellar Blade Digital Deluxe Edition, which will retail for $80. Along with the full game, it will include Stargazer outfits for the 3 main characters and some accessories, as well as 2000 SP EXP and 5000 gold. In addition to gameplay, the new 6-minute trailer revealed some of Stellar Blade's combat and provided more details about the story. In the game, humankind has been driven from Earth by invaders called the Natiba. The game's protagonist, Eve, has grown up in an off-world colony. She is a member of a paratrooper squad determined to recapture humanity's home planet from the enemy by defeating the Elder Natiba. After an unspecified disaster leaves Eve the sole survivor of her squad, she sets out to complete the mission alone. But on her journey, Stellar Blade's Eve meets Adam, born on Earth, and a few other people who live in Xi'an, the last surviving human city. Xi'an will serve as a sort of hub from which Eve will venture out into a semi-open world, completing quests for various survivors, rebuilding Xi'an, and eventually reclaiming Earth from the invading Natiba. It looks great and I'm really excited for Stellar Blade. The upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive samurai game Rise of the Ronin recently showed off some of its open-world traversal and combat gameplay in a new trailer. Team Ninja announced Rise of the Ronin during a State of Play in September 2022, with its March 22, 2024 release date being revealed at the Game Awards 2023 nearly a year later. Rise of the Ronin is set in the sunset years of Japan's feudal Edo period, where players can create their own custom samurai warrior and explore real-life locations like Yokohama, Kyoto, and Edo. Previous trailers have highlighted Rise of the Ronin's good visuals and history-inspired plot, which the player can shape through narrative choices that will see them build bonds with other characters and define who they are as a lone samurai warrior. Rise of the Ronin's later setting also allows the use of firearms in combat, something that many believe could help the game stand out from past samurai titles. More of Rise of the Ronin's gameplay was revealed during this week's PlayStation State of Play livestream, giving eager gamers a look at how they will be able to explore Rise of the Ronin's 19th century Japanese setting. As shown at the start of this trailer, the custom player character can climb rooftops using a grappling hook-like rope, as well as glide through the air using a retractable device called the Pavicula. The Rise of the Ronin trailer then shifts its focus toward the game's combat, which utilizes attacks and guards during duels with sword-wielding opponents. Players can use parries to break an enemy's stance, and switch between different combat styles to better adapt to a given situation. Stealth also plays a role in Rise of the Ronin, as the player can sneak past unsuspecting foes and use their grappling rope to drag an enemy in for a quick kill. Players can also switch between different weapons of the Edo era, such as long spears and firearms. During Rise of the Ronin's story, players will join forces with an inventor named Igashichi, who will supply them with new gadgets and weapons to help on their journey. This includes the fire pipe, a flamethrower-like weapon that can be used to ignite explosive barrels and set enemies ablaze. Some weapons combine traditional Japanese combat with Western-developed technology to help the player get an edge on tougher opponents and deliver special finishing attacks. So far, Rise of the Ronin's gameplay looks quite promising, with sword combat. Samurai fans will get to dive into this gameplay for ourselves when Rise of the Ronin launches on the PlayStation 5 on March 22nd. Sega recently revealed Sonic X Shadow Generations, a remaster of the original Sonic Generations that adds new levels focused on Shadow the Hedgehog. The January 2024 PlayStation State of Play surprised fans with a trailer for Sonic X Shadow Generations. Sonic Generations was originally released in 2011 on PS3, Xbox 360, PC, and Nintendo 3DS to celebrate the Sonic franchise's 20th anniversary. Generations featured nostalgic levels from across the series' history with two different gameplay styles. Classic Sonic had levels that were structured after the 2D 16-bit Sega Genesis games, while modern Sonic's levels were modeled after the 3D games. Fans will get another chance to enjoy Sonic Generations with this remaster, alongside a new set of levels played through Shadow the Hedgehog's perspective. Shadow's campaign has a set of unique levels based on his past playable appearances, such as Final Chase and Westopolis. One of the biggest surprises in this trailer were two enemies associated with Shadow's past, teasing rematches against Black Doom from Shadow the Hedgehog and the Bio-Lizard from Sonic Adventure 2. Sega also teased that Shadow will play differently than Sonic, using never-before-seen powers and abilities unique to Shadow in this game. For example, the trailer shows Shadow using Chaos Control to teleport to nearby enemies. In a recent PlayStation blog post, Sega details what to expect with Shadow's campaign in Sonic X Shadow Generations, stating that this journey will be parallel to Sonic's. This means the two stories are taking place concurrently. This campaign will be diving into Shadow's dark and troubled past, with players learning about his motivations and why he became the iconic anti-hero he is today. With Shadow's portion of the title, players will get to know him more as a character and understand his motivations, says Sonic Team Creative Officer, Takashi Iizuka. It will create the ultimate celebration of classic Sonic, modern Sonic, and Shadow gameplay that all fans will surely enjoy. This focus on Shadow the Hedgehog's tragic past is appropriate, considering Sonic Generations' main premise was revisiting nostalgic levels from across the series lineup, as the game's villain, the Time Eater, was tearing holes in history. While it's unclear how the two incidents are related as of now, Shadow seemingly experiences something similar, as he faces off against a villain from his past, Black Doom. Due to the time-travel nature of the original Sonic Generations plot, some fans theorize that the Black Doom seen in the trailer is a time-displaced version of the character, who is trying to prevent his own defeat at Shadow's hands. Most fans have also speculated that Sonic X Shadow Generations' new campaign will be used as a vehicle for new fans to catch up on Shadow's complex backstory without needing to play his contentious solo spin-off game. This theory is based on Shadow's upcoming debut in the third Sonic film, and having a way to play a truncated version of his backstory would be a good way to get new fans interested in the character before it premieres. For the time being, longtime fans are waiting to see how Shadow ends up getting involved with Generations' plot and how Sega will retell the iconic rival's story. Sony has officially confirmed that Until Dawn will be coming to PS5 and PC later this year. Prior to confirmation at PlayStation's recent State of Play, rumors about an Until Dawn remaster circulated online. With a film adaptation of Supermassive Games' smash hit officially in the works, players wondered if the game would be made more accessible to capitalize on the fresh interest the film would generate. The film adaptation of Until Dawn was confirmed earlier this year, with direction by David F. Sandberg, the filmmaker behind popular horror titles like Lights Out and Annabelle: Creation. The script is written and developed by horror film icons Blair Butler and Gary Dauberman, leaving Until Dawn in experienced hands. As the game itself casts a handful of stars like Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere, many fans are curious to see whether the original actors will revisit these roles or if new stars will embody Until Dawn's teen protagonists. With so much buzz surrounding the film, many rumors stirred up hope that the game would be made available on more platforms. During the 2024 PlayStation State of Play, these rumors were confirmed as an announcement trailer for a remastered Until Dawn was released. The trailer not only confirmed one of Sony's best horror games is coming to PC and PS5 but also revealed that the remastered game will be available later this year. This release will not be handled by Supermassive Games, but instead by an independent UK studio, Ballistic Moon. The announcement trailer offered a look at the rebuilt and enhanced version of Until Dawn, with shots of iconic and eerie in-game footage showing off the game's improved graphics. Captured on PS5, the footage includes clips of many beloved characters and startling iconography with narration referencing the choice-based gameplay. The trailer revealed that the enhanced Until Dawn is being developed by Ballistic Moon instead of Supermassive Games, which is busy with a new season of the Dark Pictures anthology and a collaboration with Dead by Daylight. Ballistic Moon explained on its website that it is dedicated to delivering an even more terrifying and improved experience, and is excited to invite players to relive this beloved nightmare. Now there are also rumors that Ballistic Moon will be given the reins to develop an Until Dawn sequel. To the surprise of many horror fans, Konami has released a brand new Silent Hill game on PS5 completely free of charge. Silent Hill: The Short Message was one of 2 Silent Hill projects that were given the spotlight at the latest PlayStation State of Play event. Many Silent Hill fans are eagerly looking forward to the Silent Hill 2 remake, which is in development at Layers of Fear Studio Bloober Team. The Silent Hill 2 remake was featured prominently at the latest State of Play, with a brand new gameplay trailer that showed off some of the new game's creatures and revamped combat. But while many fans tuned into the State of Play expecting to see Silent Hill 2, it's safe to say that there weren't many who expected to see Silent Hill: The Short Message. Silent Hill: The Short Message is a first-person horror game that Konami made as an experimental project. Silent Hill: The Short Message is free to download on PlayStation 5 right now, so anyone interested in checking out the new horror experience can do so immediately. Longtime Silent Hill fans will recall that this isn't the first time that Konami surprise dropped a first-person project for the franchise. A decade ago, Konami released PT, the playable teaser meant to hype Hideo Kojima's Silent Hills game. Unfortunately, Silent Hills was cancelled and Kojima split from Konami. Eventually, the publisher removed PT from the PlayStation Store altogether. This has helped some PS4 consoles gain some value on the second-hand market, but has otherwise left PlayStation gamers disappointed. While unlikely, it's entirely possible that history could repeat itself with Silent Hill: The Short Message, so horror fans should be sure to snag it immediately. It's unclear at the time of this writing if Silent Hill: The Short Message has any kind of major connection to other Silent Hill projects, so fans will have to play through it for themselves to find out. While many fans likely assume Silent Hill: The Short Message's title is a reference to its overall length and free-to-play status, Motoi Okamoto shares that its purpose is far more profound. He states that the team at Konami spent a lot of time analyzing the experience of today's youth, before settling on the concept of social media. Particularly, they wanted to explore the unique anonymity and power of social media messages, and how any post, though powerless alone, can completely overwhelm an individual with the crushing power of hate when delivered en masse. Silent Hill: The Short Message, he concludes, is a message from the developers to those who are struggling or dealing with loss, and stands as a gesture of kindness and caring so that they do not cross the brink of despair. Silent Hill: The Short Message is certainly not the title many believed would ring in the new era for the Silent Hill franchise. With so many new titles and experiences already announced, The Short Message's shadow drop was a pleasant surprise. It also reshapes the narrative of the Silent Hill franchise, as it emerges onto the modern landscape. While the franchise has always dealt with psychological horror, Konami has begun its new wave by offering an olive branch to those who suffer in real life. With Silent Hill: The Short Message, Konami has not only marked a new generation for the Silent Hill franchise, but for how psychological horror should be treated and explored in the modern landscape. A new Silent Hill 2 trailer unveiled during Sony's State of Play gave a look at several enemies, including the iconic monsters known as mannequins. While the new footage did reveal plenty of locations and monsters in the game, Silent Hill 2's release date currently remains a mystery. However, the video does share a lot about the quality and progress made, and what fans of the series should expect from the new engine. Silent Hill's monsters were already terrifying even with the older engines. Some fans would argue that Silent Hill 2 had the freakiest and best enemy designs to ever grace the series. The grotesque formations of many humanesque creatures are some of the stuff nightmares are made of. But I think the blocky shapes and blurry textures of the PS2 already made these monsters more freaky. I believe horror games in general were more scarier back in the PS1 to PS3 eras than now. The blurriness, the dark art style and atmosphere really were more scary back then for me compared to now. New footage for the remake of Silent Hill 2 was revealed during the latest PlayStation State of Play. The combat trailer showed the first detailed glimpse of Silent Hill 2's freaky enemies, with protagonist James Sunderland holding his own in facing the monstrosities. Some of the enemies featured were the Bubblehead Nurse, the Flesh Lips, and the iconic mannequins, which some fans casually refer to as leg monsters. According to Silent Hill 2 lore, these enemies are based on the protagonist's psyche, albeit with a vague design due to the character trying to forget certain details of his past. While the Bubblehead Nurse looks terrifying because it is more humanoid, the mannequins tend to be more iconic in nature because of their legs-on-legs design. Not to mention, a certain scene where Pyramid Head interacts with the mannequins has a place in many fans' memories. Speaking of Silent Hill's Pyramid Head, the trailer does seem to give a glimpse of the most well-known monster in the franchise. Unfortunately, the footage abruptly cuts before showing a more detailed look at the creature. Fans may also be looking forward to how all these creatures fill the world of Silent Hill once the game comes out. The micro-details of each enemy's appearance may give more background to their scary designs in this new HD environment. Several scenes in the trailer seem to imply some of the key moments and locations found in the game, but many fans are wondering how faithful the remake of Silent Hill 2 should be. With the scarcity of details, hopefully, the gameplay trailer is just the start of many future updates regarding the title, which should have a target release date in the future. Remakes always carry with them the nostalgia and bias of their original counterparts' reception, particularly if the original is a classic that has yet to be outdone. Silent Hill 2 has this weight to carry as its remake is being developed by Bloober and already displays some telltale signs that the final product will be far from what the purist Silent Hill community may have expected or wanted from it. Bloober already has a reputation for its games being incredibly diverse when it comes to mechanics or interactivity, but the State of Play gameplay reveal for Silent Hill 2 unveiled an unusual problem on the opposite end of the spectrum. The gameplay demonstrated that Bloober has gone ahead and designed what looks like a competent combat system for James Sunderland to endlessly wail on nurses with planks of wood, for example. And while that may only be a slice of what the game's experience will be, the Silent Hill 2 remake's direction might be worrying and deduct from how faithfully it adapts its source material. The critical issue here is that while Silent Hill 2 arguably had an inferior combat system that was more tedious and absurd than anything, it also didn't attempt to be an action game. As a psychological horror game, it included combat for the sake of circumventing enemies, but its hit-and-run mechanics were hardly anything to remark on as anything remotely close to combat, regardless of how dated it is by standards today. It's serviceable for the kind of game it's in, and that's perhaps its only saving grace, even though it's hardly ever been a gripe players have had with Silent Hill 2, and it probably hasn't prevented anyone from enjoying the game. The atmosphere and storytelling of the original Silent Hill games is where they thrived. But Bloober has now put itself in a tough spot with the choices it's made regarding Silent Hill 2 over 2 decades later. Bloober's Silent Hill 2 leaning into combat is divisive for several reasons. On the one hand, it's terrific that Silent Hill 2 will have combat that iterates on that of the original because it could make encounters more immersive and hopefully relieve the tedium of the original's combat. On the other hand, making combat a primary facet of Silent Hill 2 is a step in the wrong direction, when a step toward modern psychological horror features would have been a better play. The remake may still fulfill that, and more gameplay could determine atmosphere as its true essence. However, while decent combat is better than inferior combat, it might have been better had Bloober avoided combat almost altogether. Instead, the Silent Hill 2 remake's James Sunderland looks as expertly trained in combat as Resident Evil's Leon Kennedy. It's debatable whether Bloober's combat mechanics are a decent iteration, since it's using QTE button mashing prompts and enemies look much more lively and capable, rather than stumbling around as haunting figures. The truth is that there probably wasn't any way Bloober could please everyone no matter how it decided to approach combat, but it's easy to see both sides of why combat in general would always be controversial in the Silent Hill 2 remake, and it'll be interesting to see what details are learned about it in future gameplay reveals. While Bloober team will likely and understandably be reimagining recognizable elements from the original Silent Hill 2 in the remake, given its lauded status in the series, veering too far away from SH2's previous design and shifting to deeper action-oriented gameplay and feel may risk diminishing what fans know and enjoy it most for. Bloober Team thus has a big balancing act in front of it to deliver a remake that lives up to the original's reputation without risking alienating audiences by adjusting too much. Metro Awakening, a newly announced virtual reality experience set in the post-apocalyptic world of the beloved Metro franchise, is coming soon to the PlayStation VR 2. The single-player game will also be available on other VR systems. Taking place in a fictional version of the world that was ravaged by nuclear war, Russian author Dmitry Glukhovsky's Metro novels gave readers a harrowing picture of what a fight for survival in Moscow's underground railway system would look like following such a catastrophe. Glukhovsky's works were massive hits in his home country, and a series of video game adaptations developed by Ukrainian studio 4A Games further popularized Metro across the world. Now, close to 5 years since Metro Exodus was released, a new game in the franchise has finally been unveiled to the public. A trailer for Metro Awakening was shown off during Sony's recent State of Play presentation, revealing a 2024 launch date for the PSVR 2, Steam VR, and MetaQuest systems. In a blog post, developer Vertigo Games claimed Metro Awakening will give fans of the series an all-new, story-driven VR adventure that will act as a prequel to Glukhovsky's Metro novels. The Netherlands-based indie studio previously worked on Arizona Sunshine 2, a relatively new title that was considered to be one of the best VR games of 2023. Vertigo Games promised that Metro Awakening would feature the past Metro games' staple stealth sections and survival mechanics, but the company noted that these aspects would be enhanced in the upcoming title with the help of cutting-edge VR technology. Much like with the previous title, Glukhovsky was involved in the development of Metro Awakening, serving as a story and lore consultant, according to Vertigo Games. A Moscow court sentenced the Metro author to 8 years in prison last August for speaking out against the invasion of Ukraine, but Glukhovsky has avoided arrest as he lives outside of Russia. Metro Awakening was leaked online days before the game was officially announced at State of Play 2024. It was rumored that the new title would have multiplayer, a feature that was absent in its predecessors, Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, and Metro Exodus. In a recent tweet, the Metro team explained that another mainline entry in the series is currently in production and slated to release on the current generation of consoles and PC. The VR game officially revealed as Metro Awakening is a separate project coming to PSVR 2, Meta VR, and PC VR, while being headed up by developer Vertigo Games. This means that Metro fans without a VR set will need to invest in one. Legendary Tales is coming to PlayStation VR 2 later this year. A dark fantasy RPG with medieval weapons, armor, dazzling magic, an RPG attribute system, skill trees, diverse combat and dungeons. Legendary Tales is set in a dark fantasy world, where monsters, magic, and exciting quests lurk around every corner. Every type of monster has its own fighting method and style you will have to master to fight against them most effectively. Some monsters are stronger, and some are craftier, with named monsters having their own fighting and movement patterns. It is also heavy on physics. It is good showing for the PSVR 2 as far as gameplay goes, and it looks it will be a ton of fun. That is releasing on February 8th. As was leaked ahead of time, Ken Levine's new game Judas made an appearance at the PlayStation State of Play, showing off fresh gameplay that looked a lot like bioshock. I don't usually make comparisons and say this like or that like, but here I'm pointing this out for the bioshock fans, and it is from the same creator. BioShock fans have been waiting over a decade for Ken Levine's next game, and so many were elated when Judas was finally announced at the Game Awards 2022. The Judas trailer at the Game Awards 2022 itself had serious BioShock vibes, but with a sci-fi twist. While BioShock 4 is in development, there are many fans of the franchise that are equally excited for Judas, as it looks like a proper successor to the BioShock games. The latest Judas trailer should leave BioShock fans even more confident that Ken Levine's next game will greatly appeal to them. As seen in the latest Judas trailer, the new game features a similar art style as the classic BioShock titles, but with significant advancements thanks to the horsepower behind the new consoles. The trailer seems to set up the Big Three, a man in a cowboy hat, a woman in a black and gold suit, and a pink-haired girl, as the primary antagonists, but that's just speculation at this time. As far as gameplay goes, the trailer shows protagonist Judas acquiring a shotgun and engaging in first-person shooter combat that looks highly engaging. It's clearer now than ever before that Judas is taking its cues from BioShock, with the big difference being the setting. Judas takes place in space aboard a city or ship called the Mayflower. The Mayflower seems to have found itself in a similar situation as Rapture, as the citizens are trained to tear each other apart for even the most minor infractions, meaning players should have no shortage of enemies to face as they explore the game world. It's also been said that machines control every aspect of business, art, and government in Judas, and it will definitely be interesting to see how those themes play out over the course of the story. It would make sense for Levine to carry over and improve upon BioShock's award-winning formula, particularly as it was such a successful series. As such, there's not necessarily anything wrong with the similarities Judas shares with it. In fact, Judas may be exactly what BioShock fans want until they can get their hands on BioShock 4, especially since it could be a much longer wait than they originally anticipated. There is currently no release date set for Judas, but it is possible for players to wishlist it on PS5. It's been previously suggested that the game is aiming for release this next fiscal year, meaning it should be out by March 2025. Whether or not that actually comes to pass remains to be seen, but regardless, BioShock fans should definitely keep this one on their radar. It got Atomic Heart, loved it, and I'm getting this one. It is one of my most anticipated games. The newest Death Stranding 2 trailer revealed some major story details and the game's 2025 release window. A follow-up to 2019's Death Stranding was officially revealed during the Game Awards 2022. With Norman Reedus set to return as the gruff courier Sam Porter Bridges along with a handful of other characters from the first game. Judging from how prominent she was in the first teaser, I think that Death Stranding 2 will explore the tragic backstory of Fragile, the owner of the Fragile Express Courier Company who aided Sam and his BB partner Lou on their mission to reconnect the scattered colonies of the United Cities of America. Another, less friendly face returning in Death Stranding 2 is Higgs, the leader of the Homo Demons terrorist group who now sports a sort of rocker-like appearance. Sam himself appears considerably older in Death Stranding 2, suggesting that much time has passed since the first game. Eager fans got another, considerably larger look at Death Stranding 2 during the latest PlayStation State of Play livestream in the form of a lengthy trailer that shows off more crucial plot details. This trailer begins with Fragile and one of her associates recovering someone from the Death Stranding, only for them to suddenly awaken. From there, Fragile guides Sam through their new mobile base of operations as she explains that she has set up a new organization named Drawbridge to reconnect the world, just as Sam did with the UCA. According to Fragile, Drawbridge is funded by a mysterious benefactor that Sam suspects is connected with the UCA. Bringing the world together in Death Stranding 2 will be easier said than done, as Sam will have to navigate all kinds of hostile environments and BTs. To help him on his new mission, Sam is equipped with a talking robotic puppet that Fragile says has useful knowledge and experience. Things take a sour turn when Sam finds himself face to face with the returning Higgs, who shows off his new, jester-like face and explains that he now has an army of robots at his disposal to get revenge on Sam and Fragile. Higgs turns his attention towards Sam's puppet companion and the BB pod still strapped to his chest, which prompts Sam to ask if Higgs killed Lou. Before Higgs can answer, one of his minions seemingly turns on him, prompting a fight that shows off some of Death Stranding 2's potential new combat. Oddly enough, the rogue unit giggles just like Baby Lou did in the first game. From there, Sam and Fragile wonder about Lou and decide to discover the mystery behind the former BB, and the scene changes to Sam holding his adoptive daughter as Higgs taunts him ominously. The cryptic Death Stranding 2 trailer then ends by returning to the patient from the beginning, who is floating eerily as the Drawbridge workers elaborate on where she came from while a mysterious woman watches Sam from the shadows. From there, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach's launch window and full title are revealed, and it is set to launch sometime in 2025. The upcoming Death Stranding 2 has a unique opportunity as a sequel to a genre-defining title to better focus on exactly what it is that makes the original define the genre of Strand-type games. This can start with a focus on connection. Death Stranding is a unique experience. Since the launch of the original Death Stranding in 2019, there hasn't really been anything that has scratched the same itch or even come close to the Strand genre in AAA game development. The core of the original Death Stranding and the Strand-type genre involves the strands that bind people together, both across the light multiplayer interactions as well as between the characters in the story itself. So, a Strand game is a game about connecting. From building the connected United Cities of America to the ever-evolving world that is being subtly affected by other players from across the real world. While this is one of the most notable and uplifting aspects of Death Stranding, the sequel questioning those connections could imply that connecting isn't the only thing meant to define the genre. Another powerful connection that is formed throughout Death Stranding is the connection between the player and protagonist Sam Porter Bridges. This is done through the mundane nature of the game, forcing players to actively balance Sam as he traverses across unsteady terrain and makes his delivery. Then, between deliveries, the player gets to control Sam during his intimate moments in his room as he chugs beer and energy drinks, uses the bathroom, or just messes around in front of the mirror. Although the critique of it being a walking simulator was levied against Death Stranding during early reviews and previews before the game was fully released, that description doesn't quite do justice to what the walking means for gameplay. While it is true that most of Death Stranding is walking, that walking is done with purpose and the player has full, meticulous control over traversal in ways that most games don't bother to break down so intricately. It is a focus on in-between process of a game that helps the player connect with Sam. With little information on what Death Stranding 2 will bring to the series, any new mechanics are left up to speculation. However, with the initial trailer showing off vehicles like the previously seen reverse trike and a new beach crossing airship, the mundane doesn't have to stick to only walking or driving. Adding complexity to piloting one of these new airships could still manage to keep the act of delivering grounded while lifting up into the skies. Now Death Stranding 2 on the beach is on the horizon, and gamers have already gotten some interesting reveals. There have been 2 trailers so far, both of which reveal interesting details but also leave a lot of unanswered questions. We do, however, know that the game will feature some familiar faces. Some of them come with more questions and peculiar new designs, but it is nice to see the characters that players came to love in the first game making a return. Deadman was the scientist who first introduced Sam to the UCA, and quickly became one of his closest allies. Deadman was ostensibly a nickname referring to his background as a coroner before the Death Stranding, but it actually has a far more literal meaning. He turns out to actually be a kind of Frankenstein's monster, a person artificially constructed and brought to life by combining parts from various cadavers. Despite the unsettling reveal, he proves himself to be a nice guy, and spends a lot of the game risking his life to help Sam uncover top-secret information about the UCA and the Death Stranding. Deadman doesn't physically appear in either trailer, but his voice is briefly heard in the second. At the very end, Sam is seen listening to Deadman as he reveals a strange piece of information about Lou. Based on this, it is unclear how big a part Deadman will have in the sequel, but it looks like he will be filling a similar role to the first game. That is, he is presumably an ally who has a vested interest in uncovering the truth and wants to get that information to Sam whenever possible. Fragile was the owner of Fragile Express, and a major ally to Sam during the first game. She seemed like a strange character, with some curious abilities. She could teleport seemingly at will, and proved to be an expert at dealing with BTs. Over the course of the game, she becomes a close friend of Sam's. Players eventually learn that she was tricked into delivering nuclear bombs and, after trying to stop it, Higgs decided to punish her by making her walk through timefall rain wearing next to nothing. But despite the scarring, she wasn't ready to give up. As she said, "I'm fragile, but I'm not fragile." The 2 trailers offer a fair bit of insight into Fragile's role in the sequel. The first indicates that she was, at one point, acting as a mother figure to Lou. The second features her quite prominently, including some curious design choices. For some reason, she now has a pair of gloved hands on her shoulders that appear to be capable of moving. She also has a strange companion that looks like a ventriloquist dummy animated in stop motion. She seems to have found a way of healing her timefall scars, as they're not visible, and she claims to be fragile, in name only. The most significant thing shown in the trailer is Fragile has started a new company called Drawbridge and has a ship called the Magellan. This ship appears to be acting as a base for Sam, who seems to be interested in expanding on his mission from the first game. Higgs was a major antagonist throughout the original Death Stranding. He was the leader of a terrorist organization who developed fanatical ideas about the incoming 6th mass extinction. Much of the game seemed to set him up as the extinction entity expected to wipe out humanity. This turned out to be a red herring, but one so good that even he believed it. By the time he meets Sam, Higgs is already trying to set a total extinction event in motion, and even trick Sam into furthering that end. It also turns out he was cruel to Fragile, incurring her wrath. He was last seen on the beach after his boss fight, when Fragile is left to kill him, but players later find out she couldn't bring herself to do it. Fans get a whole sequence with Higgs in the second trailer. He still has his charismatic personality, but he looks noticeably different. He has swapped his green cloak and gold mask for a red mask and red and gold armor, accompanied by Joker-like face paint. For some reason, he now has an electric guitar that's also a sword and a shotgun. Higgs appears to be returning as the antagonist, likely looking for revenge against Sam and Fragile. He also seems to know something about Lou. Higgs appears to be relying more on robots now, but the trailers haven't yet revealed why. Lou was the name Sam gave to his brigged baby during the first game. Over the course of the story, Sam developed a strong bond with Lou, who helped him detect BTs. In the end, Sam ended up managing to remove Lou from the tank and adopted him, though he discovered that he was actually a she. Players do get some apparent backstory, but that also turns out to be a red herring. The memories that seemed experienced from Lou turn out to be Sam's. This one is a bit weird, and hard to work out with certainty. The teaser trailer appears to show Fragile attempting to escape a disaster with Lou, only to watch the baby die. Lou's death is also mentioned in the second trailer, where viewers learn it may or may not have been Higgs' doing. The weird part is that Higgs implies he knows something, and the scene culminates in him being betrayed by one of his robots, accompanied by Lou's giggles. There's also a scene that appears to depict Sam holding Lou, implying that the situation isn't so clear-cut. There is also the interesting detail that Sam still carries a BB tank, but it is shown to be empty. It's clear that Lou has some role to play in the game. One possibility, although this is pure conjecture, is that Lou is the unidentified female patient examined at the beginning, and later seen floating above an operating table. Sam Bridges was the player character in Death Stranding, a mail carrier in the game's peculiar post-apocalyptic world. He also had a pretty bizarre story, even if the weirder parts take a while to show themselves. Players learned that he was an early bridge baby whose death and retrieval from the beach turned out to be a big part of starting the Death Stranding. His goal through most of the game was to expand the chiral network as a means of connecting people across America who had been isolated by the disaster. Sam appears to be returning as the protagonist in the sequel, though it remains to be seen whether he will be the only playable character. Like the first game, his goal seems to be centered around making deliveries while bringing more people in the chiral network. But this time, he is working outside of America, possibly off the grid. Viewers can see that he has been affected by a tragic incident involving Lou, probably the one shown in the teaser trailer, and this will likely be a big part of his characterization. Some film-savvy gamers might have recognized fellow director George Miller as the Drawbridge staffer working with Fragile at the beginning of the latest Death Stranding 2 trailer, which confirmed that it is actually his likeness being used for the character. However, based on the trailer's credits, Miller is only lending his face to this role like Del Toro did in the first game, with Marty Rohn handling the vocal performance. Outside of gaming, Miller is known for directing the Mad Max films. George Miller's Death Stranding 2 character wasn't named in the recent trailer, but it seems he will be a regular ally to Fragile and Sam given how prominent he and his strange cat-like pet creature were in it. Miller isn't the only big name in Death Stranding 2's star-studded cast, which will also see Elle Fanning as what many believe is an older version of Lou. The Death Stranding 2 trailers released so far have confirmed that some of the most important characters from the original game are showing up in the sequel, though Mads Mikkelsen's Clifford Unger won't be among them. Responding to fan requests to see Cliff in Death Stranding 2, Kojima confirmed that Mikkelsen is not appearing in the new game. Fans of the character will no doubt be disappointed by this revelation, but considering the events of the first game, others are likely not surprised. Death Stranding's plot is too complex to explain in brief, but without going into spoilers, there wouldn't necessarily be a reason for Mads Mikkelsen's character to appear in Death Stranding 2. Mikkelsen's character was one of the big mysteries of the first game, and the biggest questions about him have already been answered. Cliff's story in Death Stranding has a proper conclusion, and so it makes sense that the sequel is moving on to new things. At the beginning of Death Stranding 2's State of Play trailer, Fragile and a doctor are seen breaking open a chrysalis, revealing a person inside. After breaking it open, they take the person's arm out and notice circles that cover the arm. They then attempt to pull a hair sticking out of one of the circles, only for it to squirt out a tar-like substance resembling the timefall from the first game, which causes anything it touches to age rapidly and decay. The tar lands on Fragile's glove, soaking through it and aging a small part of her hand. Shortly thereafter, the individual inside the chrysalis awakens. Near the end of the trailer, Elle is seen standing outside a room where Sam, Fragile, and the doctor who worked with Fragile at the beginning of the trailer are investigating the body of a woman, whom they said was found inside a chrysalis. Keen-eyed viewers will likely also notice white strands ascending off of the woman's body. After Sam comments on the woman's home, Elle's character begins to walk away, and similar white strands briefly appear above her as well. She is likely linked to this other woman in some way, and it's possible she was also found inside a chrysalis. A subtle plot tease for Death Stranding 2 on the beach may have been unearthed within a doctor's email in the original Death Stranding game years ago. The email conversation found by a player might shed some light on themes that resonate with what is yet known about Death Stranding 2 on the beach's storyline. An email extracted from the original Death Stranding, where the doctor discusses the implications of advanced medical technology and artificial intelligence within the game's universe. It raises thought-provoking questions about the consequences of increased connectivity facilitated by the chiral network. This conversation gains significance when considering what is already known about Death Stranding 2 on the beach after its trailer released on January 31st. The dialogue sparked by 808's post delved into broader themes echoing real-world experiences that might fit with what players can expect of Death Stranding 2. Some users drew parallels between the email's musings and the impact of the internet on modern society, highlighting how increased connectivity could paradoxically lead to isolation. Others speculate on Kojima's intent to chronicle the evolution of the digital age through the narrative of Death Stranding. The email offered insights into the philosophical roots of Death Stranding and highlighted Kojima's interest in crafting intricate stories mirroring the complexities of human existence and the evolving interaction with technology. Ludwig Furcell returns as musical director while Kyle Cooper is once again the title designer. And Metal Gear Solid fans instantly recognized Yoji Shinkawa's influence on DS2's character and mechanical design. Of particular interest are Death Stranding 2's new machine designs, which include several enemy types that fans of Kojima and Shinkawa's past work know all too well. Some robots reminiscent of Metal Gear Solid's expansive machine catalog began creeping into the first Death Stranding in its director's cut, but Death Stranding 2 has placed a spotlight on them. Not only does Fragile's ship, the DHV Magellan, share visual elements with MGS's iconic Metal Gear Rex, but the mechanical soldiers in DS2's latest trailer look like they would fit in Zone of the Enders or Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. This can be explained by Yoji Shinkawa's consistent design approach but also illustrates how Hideo Kojima tends to use these machines in similar ways. Various designs, like DS2's humanoid soldier mechs and a bipedal mech making animal sounds, recall various Metal Gear enemies, but one Death Stranding 2 machine goes beyond mere visual similarities. What appears to be a robotic ninja stops Higgs from menacing Sam before engaging in a high-octane fight, not only demonstrating Higgs' new fighting style but also the return of the cyborg ninja archetype from Metal Gear Solid. With design elements from past mechanized ninjas and potentially a similar story purpose, this callback to Kojima's old projects is deliberate and thorough. While high-tech anime action has defined most of Kojima's career, and there was a ninja boss fight in Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Yoji Shinkawa first proposed the idea for the cyborg ninja to Kojima during Metal Gear Solid 1's development. An old Metal Gear character called Gray Fox was assigned the role, and since then, the title of Cyborg Ninja has passed to Metal Gear Solid 2's Olga Gerlikovich and Metal Gear Solid 4's Raiden. Skull's parasite unit from Metal Gear Solid 5 and many enemies in Metal Gear Rising also follow the Cyborg Ninja design pattern. Right now, the mechanical ninja in Death Stranding 2 looks like a mashup of many past Cyborg Ninja designs and character traits, while adding samurai-like design elements of its own. Ninja's central eye light and ability to turn invisible and seemingly teleport recall Gray Fox, while its voice belonging to an infant may reference Olga's diverse voice changer. MGS4's famous scene of Raiden dueling Vamp, one of Metal Gear Solid's best villains, is recreated in this ninja's battle with Higgs, right down to Higgs and Vamp bending back to dodge slashes. What allegiance the ninja holds is currently a mystery, just like most of MGS's cyborg ninjas, but it's a welcome addition to the growing list of Death Stranding 2 on the beach's questions. The bulk of Death Stranding's open world is very Icelandic in nature, a feature that some fans have taken issues with, as the game is set in America. However, because it resembles Iceland, the open world is very green and mountainous, with streams and waterfalls occasionally cutting through its land. Beyond its mainland, however, players eventually venture into a rather large red desert area and even scale the mountains as the game progresses. Death Stranding 2, on the other hand, gives players a chance to go on the road, which essentially means they will encounter more environments. As revealed in Death Stranding 2 on the Beach's State of Play trailer, Sam will likely be traveling even more than he did in Death Stranding, as he can be seen hiking and driving across a broad variety of landscapes. Right off the bat, Death Stranding 2 appears to be less green than its predecessor, but it makes up for it elsewhere. According to the trailer, players will be traveling through massive canyons, far-reaching deserts, and what appear to be large cities. Players will also return to snow-covered mountaintops, the moon views and the dark tar swamps of the original game. It goes without saying that Death Stranding 2, on the Beach's environments will be more impressive from a visual standpoint as well, as technology continues to improve. Nevertheless, the sequel's environments and landscapes are breathtaking, to say the least, and present a massive open world that is already captivating players ahead of the sequel's release. In a series that emphasizes travel as much as Death Stranding does, its environmental visuals should be striking enough to create an immersive experience for its players and really give that big world feel, even if the full extent of it is never explored. And it seems Death Stranding 2 will likely accomplish that with ease. It's not enough to simply say that Death Stranding 2 on the Beach has good graphics. What has been revealed thus far is stunningly realistic, and while this is due in part to the technological developments that have taken place over the last few years, it's also due to the dedication and devotion of the Kojima Productions team and its cast. Its predecessor, Death Stranding, was already a sight to behold, and Death Stranding 2 seemingly plans to surpass it in all regards. One of the standout features of Death Stranding 2's visuals is character model fidelity. Each person looks nearly identical to the actor or actress that portrays them, down to minuscule details like skin pores or the moles on Norman Reedus' face, even the small freckle near Léa Seydoux' jawline. Near the end of Death Stranding 2's State of Play trailer, Elle Fanning's character appears, and very clear details can be made out about her face, including the gentle swaying of her blonde hair. Thanks to motion capture technology, each character in Death Stranding 2 on the Beach moves like an actual human being, rather than like a video game character modeled after one. And these realistic animations are a huge part of what contributes to Death Stranding 2's visuals. Although each character's hair tends to move as though it's underwater, it's not enough to steal away from the immersion that the game's visuals as a whole provide. Death Stranding 2's lighting is another of its extraordinary features, and its vast potential is thoroughly achieved, especially in the game's various environments. Whether during the day or at night, in the light or the dark, appropriate lighting is used to highlight detailed textures on people, objects, landscapes, and more. As the recent State of Play trailer covers several of Death Stranding 2's environments, Kojima Productions' brilliant use of light is plainly seen, especially in the snow-covered mountaintops and the rocky expanse as Sam walks toward the bright moon. The fact that Death Stranding 2, on the Beach is still at least a year away and is already displaying such immersive visuals is astounding, to say the least. The graphical prowess that it has demonstrated in its State of Play trailer shows that Death Stranding 2 should be considered a benchmark for PlayStation exclusives and gaming in general in terms of visual fidelity and art direction from here on out. With its lifelike depictions of people, its excellent use of motion capture technology, and its exceptional lighting, it is likely to be a riveting experience when it releases next year. Death Stranding's beautifully crafted open world sets a high bar for other open world games, and it is already looking like Death Stranding 2 on the Beach will drive that sword in even further. It is currently unclear just how massive the sequel's open world will be, but what is clear is that it will most likely be a captivating experience for those who choose to explore its vastness and brave its danger when it releases in 2025. Death Stranding 2 has been setting up big mysteries of its own that will hopefully be resolved over the course of the new game. Each new trailer provides more clarity about what the sequel is bringing to the table, while at the same time introducing concepts that fans will be theorizing about all the way to the game's eventual release in 2025. With a release date over a year away, hopefully fans of the original game and Kojima's work in general don't have to wait too long for more updates on the highly anticipated sequel. The state of play ended with a surprise announcement from Kojima. Metal Gear Solid fans will be excited to learn that series creator Hideo Kojima is developing a brand new stealth action game for PlayStation called Physint. Kojima Productions' latest projects have seen the legendary developer stray from his stealth action roots, with Death Stranding and OD, so longtime fans will likely be excited to see him return to the genre that made him famous. Kojima innovated the stealth action genre with the Metal Gear games. The series reached new heights with Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation 1, which is widely considered one of the most important and innovative games ever made. Metal Gear Solid was followed by a string of sequels that also earned universal acclaim. Considering Kojima's legendary work on the Metal Gear Solid franchise, it's safe to say that many will be excited to see him tackle a new stealth action game. Kojima announced his new stealth action game after showing off a Death Stranding 2 trailer that confirmed that game's 2025 release window. The new stealth action game was described as a next-generation action espionage game, and it was said that development will begin in earnest after the release of Death Stranding 2. "I am confident that this title will be the culmination of my work," Kojima said. Specifics on what Physint will be about were not shared during the state of play, but Kojima did say that he plans on using cutting-edge technology and talent from around the world to make it. "With this title, we hope to transcend the barriers between film and video games." The choice to label the new stealth action game from Kojima Productions as a next-generation title is an interesting one, to say the least. Since development on the new stealth action game isn't going to ramp up until after Death Stranding 2 is complete, one has to imagine that there's a very good possibility that the game will be released for the PlayStation 6, as opposed to the PlayStation 5. Reports indicate that the PS6 will likely launch in 2028. Unless Kojima Productions is able to produce the new game within 3 years, then it wouldn't be surprising at all to see the game land on Sony's next console. With the game having yet to truly start development, though, that remains to be seen. Kojima said that this game will be the landmark of his 40 years of experience in the gaming industry. And that's all for the video, ladies and gentlemen. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.